from all walks of people. We have National Spare Parts Dealers, GUTA, Ghana Association of Industries, all reacting and telling us your own views on what they had today. Well, National Spare Parts Dealers and GUTA, they are welcoming the 50% reduction in import duties, but they are demanding an immediate stabilization of the cedi.
You don't just give straight away 50% to importers. How do we as effect manufacturers get through the market?
We'll hear from the Chief Executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, who says the blank reduction of the import duties will kill local businesses. Also tonight, 3 sacked lectures reinstated as the University of Education Winneba reopens after almost a month of shutdown.
Upon advice and permission from the Regional Security Council, the Governing Council wishes to announce for the attention of the general student body and the general public the following schedule of arrangements for the reopening of the university.
And coming up in business, the Vice President attributes cedi sharp depreciation to an IMF conditionality. We'll get you details on that in business.
Later in sports, we bring you updates on what's been happening on day 3 of the International Tennis Federation World Junior Circuit and the Table Tennis World Junior and Cadet Championship.
And George will join me with more on what he had today. I know you have a lot on this coming up as well, with all your analysis and etc. There's a lot of controversy about some of the figures that Dr. Bamia puts out, but also the real reason why we've seen the cedi depreciation. Atuforsen is suggesting tonight that the Bank of Ghana monetary policy document had shown that, in fact, the Bank of Ghana had put in money to try and stabilize the cedi. I'm sure you're going to be touching on that as well, and all the key issues that you're picking up from business.
Still, because again, when we asked the governor, that the governor said that yes, some explanation was given to suggest that yes, of course, in terms of their intervention, they've been lower compared to the previous year. But I think that the Vice President was trying to explain that during that period that we witnessed some sharp depreciation, the Bank of Ghana had not been on the market. We are yet to establish from the Bank of Ghana in terms of data, whether when you look at their data, their foreign reserves went down, and that was as a result of them coming onto the market or not.
You want to stay with us because business has fascinating insight into what we heard today from that town hall meeting, and you also want to hear the former, not the current chief executive, the former chief executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, who is talking about how the blanket reduction or 50% reduction in import duties may kill businesses as well. Stay with us here. I want to hear your views on all the stories that we're hearing so far. 0244 340 437. And my name is Evans Mensah. Later.
So when the warning shot came...
So our worst is better than your best. And then you say boot for boot. One is more like boot for chalewote. You only resort to insults when you are allergic to facts.
Well, the Vice President's sense of humor that lit up a tense town hall meeting in the midst of serious economic jargons. We'll have more later on Flip Side. Stay with us for that as well. Now, let's go to the serious stuff. The Ghana Union of Traders Association, GUTA, and the National Spare Parts Dealers have described as welcoming government decision to slash import duties on goods and vehicles by as much as 50%. But they also want the cedi to be immediately stabilized. Now, the Vice President, Dr. Bawumia, at the town hall meeting today and leading the economic management team, disclosed that there will be a 50% reduction in import duties and a 30% reduction for importers of vehicles. Now, chairman of the National Concerned Spare Parts Association, Kwabena J, is asking government to scrap the benchmark value used in calculating duties on vehicles.
It's a great news to us, but we are hoping that the benchmark value should have been scrapped to the standard value. Because benchmark value, if I go outside and buy, let's say, Toyota Corolla, 2003 engine, and I buy it $500. First, it's the standard value. They were charged if I bring my receipt to the custom. That's my receipt. They will look up on how much I bought the engine before they charge me the duty. But now, benchmark value, if I take my receipt or my parking list to the custom will say he's not accepting my price. The $400 I said I buy the engine, he's not accepting it. So he would rather go to the market on the internet and check how much they are selling it. So if you go to the internet, you see that they will be selling it maybe, let's say, $800 to $900. Then it will charge me 50% on the engine that I bought $400. So the benchmark value has to grab out.
But doesn't the 50% reduction make up for this benchmark value for those of you that import, spare parts?
First mini budget of MPP, Honorable Kenofurata made mention a spare parts before our name that import duty on spare parts abolished. For my understanding, abolished means that it's not working anymore. But now we are finding it difficult to pay our duty.
And we went to Abosoka, and this is the nerve center of the all. In fact, they had recently threatened to go on a demonstration if the CD is not dealt with, because we're feeling it at the port, because the calculations at the port are all based on the strength of the city, and we're feeling it. They have threatened to go on a demonstration. So we went there today on the back of the town hall and the announcements that we had from the economic management team and the vice president. We got some fascinating reactions. Listen.
Performance so far is okay. Once they are able to bring down the exchange rate, the dollar to CD rate down, the importation of goods will be okay. And in Ghana, we pay duty, they work it on dollar basis. So if the dollar is going up, you are going to change it to pay it. So it will be almost the same. But we beg him to try and work on the dollar so that the business too can go on. Our business is very, very slow.
Were you expecting him to have reduced it drastically from 90 to 50?
I wasn't. I was surprised in a way. He has done very well. But if he tackled the dollar, I think it's superb.
In terms of the rate, because actually 50% reduction is quite good.
It's too early to make a conclusive argument about whether it's helping or not. So let's give it some time and see how things work out. So far, so good, and a little bit of concerns here and there. But generally, I think we have to wait a little bit and see the full impact of the measure.
Well, we've also been hearing from the former chief executive of the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, Gifty Clenham, she says that the blanket reduction in import duties will kill local business and local industry.
We have a very good policy by creating industries in this country. The one district, one factory. And all is because we want to create jobs for the people. But no manufacturer can manufacture when you don't have market and be able to employ people. At the moment, our market in this country is so small because foreign goods have already dominated everywhere we are. Even the beverage industry is so bad that the number of fruit juice manufactured in this country that you can find on the Ghanaian market is just about 10%. Everything you see is important. And so if we are giving 50% reduction trade like that without being selective in certain areas, then are you saying that how do we produce and how do we sell? The competition is becoming too thick for us who are in manufacturing to be able to penetrate through the market.
So you are saying that this reduction will kill local businesses?
Exactly. We are manufacturing in this country. We are creating the jobs. So if there will be any tax reduction, it should favor those who are creating the jobs in this country, not somebody who is giving employment somebody outside the country. The citizen has requested for import duty reduction. That is fair enough. You sit down and you come out with the structure where it will benefit you to be win-win for both manufacturers and then importers. You don't just give straight away 50% to importers and then you expect that how do we expect manufacturers get through the market?
Okay, I want to go to the phone lines now. Very fascinating views there from Gifty Clenham. She, until recently, was the president's appointee at the Ghana Export Promotion Authority, former CEO there. Her view there represents, I guess, some views that we've had as well that I will share with you. But let me go on to the phone lines and bring in the economist and senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Godfred Bokwing. Thank you, sir, for your time here on NEWSNITE.
Thank you. Good evening, and good evening to our cherished listeners.
Let's start with what we just heard there from the former CEO of the Export Promotion Authority. Her argument is 50% reduction in import duties. You're going to lead to create a situation where goods will flood the Ghanaian market, and local businesses striving to produce locally will die because we can't compete. What's your reaction to that?
Thank you very much. I don't think that the economic management team just took the decision to reduce the import duties just arbitrary. It was born out of some kind of analysis. And I'm happy to the extent that this is evidence-based policy prescription or a decision that they had taken. They had compared to what would perhaps exist in Togo, what would exist in neighboring countries, and all of that. Even assuming we had decided to keep the duties the way they were, those goods were coming in anyway. They were coming in perhaps through Togo and neighboring borders. So they were getting the tax revenues, which we were losing. So they were coming in one way or the other, whether through the Ghana port or through other means. So, and I'm yet to see their analysis of how the 50% reduction is going to actually kick them out of business, whether we like it or not. Even the local manufacturing firms in this country, the bulk of their input is still imported. And it still attracts all those kinds of rates because largely about 70% of business input costs in this country is largely imported. So that again fits into that production and goes through the PPI and then ultimately CPI. Because the high import duties also fit into local price development, which also affect them and affect all of us. So I think that fine, they may have a point, but I want to believe that the decision to have the duties was born out of clear analysis and some kind of comparative here and there. And I want to believe that they had also taken into consideration local concerns and all of that. It is easy to say that just with that reduction would mean that we are making manufacturing or exporting a bit less competitive. I mean, that is fair. But we have to be able to look at other ways of offsetting that burden, other interventions that we can put in. Because don't forget that in the last 2-3 years, perhaps the ports in Togo and other neighboring countries have recorded perhaps more than 300% growth. And we have done maybe less than 5%. It means that we are losing significantly. And yet these goods, some way, somehow, find their way into the Ghanaian market anyway. So the issue is that you're also looking at your regional competitiveness. Don't forget that government is also going to lose in terms of revenue shortfall from this. But they are hoping to offset that through increase in volume, which I think is very fair. So the issue is that, fine, what other interventions can we put in place, given their concerns? They should also be able to table their concerns. And then I want to believe that government will listen to them and then look at other ways that they can offset that burden going forward.
Today, Dr. Bawumia gave reasons why this was done. Primarily, he says, is the revenue argument. And he says, as far as the port is concerned, to make the right revenues, you need volumes. And so if you become competitive, as in reduce your import duties, you are likely then to become attractive. People, more volumes, more containers come here. That is how you make your money, right?
Yes, so you are going to lose something, but you offset that through increase in volume, okay? And I think that is very sound.
However, explain this to me. At the time when we are talking about the depreciation of the city, and we know one of the huge factors there is we just import too much and export so little. And we say we want to change the fundamentals of the economy. And Dr. Bawumia talks about that today, which is create a situation that helps us export more than we import. Can you reconcile this policy to that for me? Does that create an imbalance?
No, there's no conflict here. The point is that the goods were coming into this country anyway. They were coming in through illegal routes and all of that. So,
but if that is true, even if you reduce it and people are paying next to nothing, they will still smuggle it in anyway, even if you reduce it 50%. If you don't check the ports.
So the idea is that we were losing significant revenue to neighboring countries. Then the competitiveness here, you are looking at it with respect to within the region, your competitiveness within the region. And that is what they are looking at. But I don't also think that the only way we can change the fundamental of the economy is just to impose higher duties on these imported items here and there. No. Because some of the imported items also play a role as inputs in production here. So the argument may not hold entirely. And I want to believe that the decision they have taken is largely consistent with best practice. And what we have to be looking at is how do we offset the negative impact of that on manufacturing, on exports, so we can look at other interventions that we can put in place. Yeah. I think that is the way we should go about it.
Let me pick your brain on the cedi now. Today, and I know we spoke to you also a couple of weeks back when the cedi was almost inching to 6 cedi to the dollar. Today, the vice president made the point, first point, I guess the most important one, is the explanation that is because of the IMF's imposition of some restrictions on the BOG, and which really led to a situation where they could not intervene when the situation was getting bad. They just couldn't meet the demand. You listen to that. What's your reaction?
Yes, so I think that is largely true. The central bank usually comes onto the market to buy dollar or sell dollar on its own account, largely in terms of steering the volatility within a certain level. So they were constrained. They were constrained largely to the extent that one of the indicative targets was that our international reserves needed to be at a certain level in order for us to exit the program successfully. And because of that, they were constrained. But it also tells you that that there are fundamental issues beyond even the IMF's intervention in here, because even within periods when we didn't have this kind of IMF program, the cedi continues to depreciate during the first quarter. And I would say that what we saw recently isn't particularly strange, because it hasn't been the worst quarter for us in recent years. If you look at what we have seen from January 2nd to, let's say, March 21st, if you look at the rate of depreciation of the cedi, it's just around what we saw in 2017. And it's far below what we saw in 2014 and what we saw in the early part, same period in 2012. So this has been a problem that we have been going through over the years. Granted, assuming we even allow the central bank to dip its hands into the international reserves, for how long? Because you have limited international reserves. So it's still down to the point that there's a lot that we have to do in terms of changing the structure of the economy. I take consolation in the fact that since 2017, our trade balance has been positive. Okay, theoretically, that should contribute to the strengthening of the cedi. We are not seeing that because the betrayal is actually in the services and income accounts, where we are recording huge deficits. So, for instance, 2018, our trade balance was positive to the tune of $1.5 billion. But the income and services account, or the services and income account, a component of the balance of payment, is actually showing a deficit of over $6 billion. That tells you how exposed we are. So even though the fundamentals have improved, not to the extent where we can actually withstand the shocks that perhaps when it comes upon us. So we've made some progress, but the idea is that there's still a lot more that we could have done. So we cannot take him on those explanations, because the facts really do suggest or relate to that. So we can understand that.
Finally today, the very famous saying that when your fundamentals are weak, the exchange rate will expose you. Dr. Bamia mentions that, but owns it and says, yes, it's as true as he said it in 2014 as it is today. However, he says that immediately you see the cedi depreciating, you cannot jump to that conclusion immediately, because he says that will be warped logic, because there could be other reasons why that the cedi is depreciating other than the fundamentals alone. You listen to that? Did you hear that part?
Yeah. So fine. You know, this was the issue. People took him on solely on the basis of what he said, that once the fundamentals are weak, the cedi would expose you. When you look at the statistics in 2014, it was very clear the fundamentals were weak. And the fundamentals here will relate to public finance in terms of budget deficit, fiscal discipline, external balance, monetary aggregate or the monetary side, and then you also want to look at the real side. So when you pick the components, and you even want to do a regime comparison, let's say from 2016 and then to end of 2018, there is no way you can objectively conclude that the fundamentals have weakened. No. The data do not suggest that. And that is why we have to look at other reasons why the cedi is actually depreciating. Then you want to look at maybe external development. Then you see part of the problem we are seeing, and you want to also agree with the opposition to some extent when they talk about foreign investors. You see, the strategy that worked in 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018 is what has brought us in this situation now, because if you look at the composition of our debt stock, public debt today, we have a lot of foreign investors participating in our debt stock, even with the domestic debt. because in the last 4 or 5 years, in the last 3 years or so, we have done CD-denominated issue and open it up to foreign investors through the book building process. But the idea is that even when you look at the coupon payment on those bonds alone and the percentage that will have to leave this country and you convert it to dollars, is very huge. So the question is, how much international reserves do you have? And remember, at the end of the day, the depreciation comes down to inflows of dollars as against outflows. And once demand for dollars far exceeds supply, then the city will have to take a deep haircut. And that was what we saw. You also want to see the activities of corporate Ghana. Look, this economy is driven largely by just 55 institutional units, right? Less than 5% of them are Ghanaian owned. You cannot call this economy yours. I'm expecting, and the vice president knows this, and the economic management team is aware. You see, the real issues we should be asking is, what practical steps are we taking to change the structure of the economy and increase local content? Without that, we will continue to see the fundamentals improving, but with the slightest shocks to our economy, we'll be exposed.
I'm grateful that you joined us. That's Professor Bokwinder helping us explain what we heard today from the Vice President. And I've just been joined on the telephone line by the former CEO of the Ghana Export Promotion Center. Thank you very much, Madam Clenham, for your time here on NEWSNITE.
Thank you.
Yes, your position is clear that you believe that this reduction that we've seen, this blanket reduction, may hurt local businesses. We just had a reaction from the economist there who believes that it doesn't necessarily follow that the reduction will hurt, because he says the people who bring in these goods that you complain about are already doing it anyway, with or without the reduction. What's your take on that?
Well, it depends on where he's looking at it from. I am still, at the moment, I'm even at the factory, so I want to be practical here. I'm at the factory producing now.
Which factory is this? What do you produce? I'm
producing car coolant.
Car coolant, okay. Which is mostly imported.
Yes, and per Standard Board Authority, the Standard Authority is the first of its kind in Ghana that I'm producing.
So you are the first local Ghanaian to produce this locally,
yes,
wholly,
yes,
okay.
Yes. Is the first of its kind in Ghana here. And, penetrating the market, because every other coolant product in Ghana is imported. And it's so difficult penetrating because for some reason they are able to bring it, whether duty cut or some other means, and they reduce their price just to make it difficult for the locals, for us to penetrate. Whichever way it is, it's something we are experiencing on the ground. So if we are going to go further to say that we are giving 50% over across board, we should have been specific on certain items, and say that, okay, we are identifying this goods, this product here, so let's give the cut to those.
So it should have been targeted, not a blanket one.
Exactly, but if we do it a wholesale approach like that, then everybody is going to feel it. At the end of the day, we are all trying to see how we can control the import bill. But hey, you are giving room for this to happen, and we are like, you are solving one problem and then another one coming back. It's neither here nor there. I don't want to go into details, but for me, it's not an interesting development.
That you're afraid that in the back of this, your business might die, it might kill your business, and others like you?
We have a challenge, and we as a business person, we must see how we can resolve it. If they are not ready to deal with the 50%, we'll see how we can penetrate. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't encourage employment, because my constituents are waiting that we put them at the factory to work. But if the market is not available, how do we go into production? How do we increase production to employ the people?
I mean, some say this is your own government, and so you have a way to get. In fact, the economists suggested that you should make a case to government on this. And you talk about your constituents, and so obviously you have some influence as a member of parliament. Are you planning to use that influence to influence this?
Of course, I will. I'm at the factory now, so maybe when I get back to Accra, we'll see.
Okay, so are we going to probably expect a letter to the finance minister, or maybe a statement on the floor of parliament? What is the approach?
Yeah, I'm not in parliament.
but I'm a businesswoman, so we will see where we can
of course.
our grievances to.
Of course. Okay, thank you very much. That's Madam Clifford Kenham speaking to us about her own concerns there with the decision to cut import duties by 50%, 30% for vehicles. Now, let's stay with this issue because I know a lot of you have experienced a power situation. There's an update today from the same event. Government has tonight admitted that the recent power outages experienced throughout the country is partly due to the debt accumulation in the energy sector. The country has been experiencing intermittent power outages for weeks now due to what we understand is a shutdown of some of course plants for repair and maintenance, but also mainly because of the turbo power plants shut down to make a connection to WAPCO for reverse flow. Addressing Ghanaians at the town hall today, the Vice President said debt owed to Gridco, that is a Ghana Grid company, has made it difficult to resolve the transmission challenges. Listen.
For many of these IPPs are expensive and fundamentally and financially burdensome. Many of these contracts are take or pay arrangements. This means that even if we don't need the power, we still have to pay for it. Ghana is currently paying $24 million a month in excess capacity charges alone for the power we have not used. This will increase to about $41 million a month later this year with the coming on stream of Send Power, Early Power, and Amandi power plants. Even though we don't have problems with power generation capacity, we have problems with transmission. And the Gridco network is old, and it has been thus far unable to invest in high-capacity lines. The takeover of ECG by PDS should help bring in much-needed investments. The Millennium Challenge Corporation Compact is expected to result in some $1 billion invested in the power sector over the next 5 years. Ladies and gentlemen, Ghana has enough gas to power all our plants without relying on imported gas. Gas is so much cheaper than liquid fuel. This is why a policy decision has been taken to switch largely to the use of gas in energy generation. We have also, the Ministry of Finance has also been directed. One of the major problems in this, at the heart of the energy sector, is short collections by ECG. We are not collecting enough, or now PDS. And this, when the ECG doesn't collect enough, they don't pay the others in the value chain.
Meanwhile, the Energy Minister, John Peter Mill, says government is producing electricity below the installed capacity because consumers may have to pay more if other plants are turned on. He said this in response to a question on why Ghana has an installed capacity of about 4,700 megawatts and yet producing just about 2,400.
Our energy mix in this country cuts across hydro, renewable in terms of sun, gas, which is the thermal, and also light crude oil, and also heavy fuel and diesel. In our current tariff that we are paying, the tariff has been driven largely because out of this energy mix, large proportion being priced on gas. If we are going to turn on a plant that is going to be fed on heavy fuel or light crude oil or diesel, that will bring an added cost to the existing tariff regime. Largely about 660 megawatts of our plants relied on gas.
And I'll also give you an update shortly about why you don't have a load shedding timetable yet, although load is being shed. Stay with us on that. But let me quickly bring in the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries, Setuma Kwaba. Thank you very much, sir, for your time here on NEWSNITE.
Thank you, Ivan.
Yes. What's your reaction to the import duty reduction, 50% for goods and 30% for vehicles?
Well, Ivan, my understanding of it is a bit different, though. I mean, that would have been a big, serious challenge for industry if you give a blanket 50% reduction in import duty. But I don't think that is what the Vice President said. What he said was that the benchmark values will be reduced by 50%. Now, the benchmark values only comes in when there is no clarity and there's uncertainty about the values you are declaring. So if you are declaring a certain value and it's consistent with what the customs expect, then they leave it there and you pay the appropriate duty. So it's not a reduction in duty. It is only when your declaration is not consistent with what the customs have, and then they say that you are going to use a certain benchmark. So that benchmark, your values cannot be below that. Any value above it is fine, but below that, they will not accept it. That's what the benchmark value does. So in some instances, there may not be any reduction at all. And in fact, most of the goods we import, if it's consistent and they're declaring the right values, they shouldn't be touched at all. So it will not necessarily result in a reduction in duty. It's not the same as 50% reduction in duty.
Oh, I see. So what it is that there'll be some goods that you import that the 50% reduction will not apply.
Oh yes. In fact, in most of them it shouldn't even apply, because in most cases you declare your values, and if you are truly declaring the right values, the benchmark values doesn't come in at all. So you pay the right duty. It is only when there's uncertainty, the customs are not clear, that the values you have declared is not consistent with what they think the value should be, then they apply the benchmark values. So in most cases, I don't expect, I don't want to give percentages here, but in most cases, the values will stay the same. So we shouldn't be too excited that there's a 50% reduction in the duties. Bear in mind also that we are operating under the ECOWAS CET. The CET has thresholds. In fact, it has tariff bands that is applicable. Ghana cannot change its own immediately like that. So it has to fall within the tariff band. If you say 50% reduction in the duty, then it means that the tariff band, which is, for example, 20%, then it means you are going to go 10%. And that ECOWAS will not accept it. So let's have it clear. I think there's a bit of misunderstanding of the issues. Let's get it clear from the customs.
Okay, so you expect, I mean, what is the AGI's own approach going to be in getting clarity on this going forward?
Well, we will talk to customs. We are always engaging them. So we'll have to have a clarity on this. But our understanding of it is that it is a benchmark value they are talking about, not a total reduction in the duty rate.
And this takes effect tomorrow morning, and I know you import a lot, but you also produce locally. Some of the raw materials are imported, etc., etc. Tomorrow morning, you expect this to be implemented smoothly, or you expect some challenges, and how do you propose these challenges will be resolved?
Well, I expect that the normal duty that is applicable for most goods which are properly declared will stay the same. We don't expect that tomorrow you go to the port and then your duties are slashed by 50%. It's not going to happen. I don't think we should have that wrong impression. It is only those, and normally it refers to the heterogeneous goods. In a particular container, you may have different goods, in it, and you are unable to declare the actual value. Then the customs comes in and say, we are not accepting the value you are declaring. We are rather going to use our benchmark value. So if the benchmark value was, say, 1,000, then they will say, okay, now, Vice President, the policy is that you should use benchmark value of 500. That is all.
Mr. Kwaba, can I use a practical question? And this is something that a lot of people have done. So my car is on its way to Ghana, and I've been told ahead of time before it arrives that I'm going to pay, say, 30,000 cedis to clear it when it lands. Now, tomorrow morning, I thought, as simple as it sounds, that I should knock off 30% of the 30,000 and pay the difference, because that is what the policy says. Is that what it is?
Absolutely no. That is not what it is. I'm not a customer, but that's completely wrong. If the 50,000 you declared is the actual value, then the duty, applicable duty, should be paid without any interruption. So the same duty will be paid. It is only when the customs said, you have declared 50,000, but we don't accept your 50,000. For that kind of vehicle, it is 100,000. Now the policy is that if customs used to say it's 100,000, now it should be 50,000 that they should pay. That is all. So if you bought a vehicle with the 50,000 cedis worth or dollars worth, and there hasn't been any, that's the right value you have declared, you have to pay applicable duty concerning that. There's not even a percentage reduction. Let's bear that in mind. So
you're saying that unless there is a dispute, the reductions won't apply?
Exactly.
Oh, wow.
Unless there's a dispute, yes. It's only when there's no clarity, there's a dispute, and then customs is not accepting your valuation. Normally when you are bringing goods, you have to declare the value. and the duty is a percentage of the value. So if you have declared your value, which is much lower than what the customs expect, then they will say, okay, your value is too low, we are going to use our benchmark value. And that is why he says if the benchmark value happens to be a certain amount, reduce it by 50%. So then in that case, so in some instances, there will be a reduction because the heterogeneous goods nature of it and all that, there's always some discretion on the part of the customs. That is where it becomes.
So you're saying that so you said that the jubilation is premature?
I think so. People don't seem to have a clear understanding of it. We will study it, but he clearly mentioned, and I listened. He said benchmark values should be declared, should be lowered by 50%.
But AGI at least is excited. Are you not?
No, we are excited in what sense? You mean on this particular issue?
Yes, on the reductions.
On the reduction?
Yes.
Well, I mean, we are importers of raw materials largely. Some of our members also import finished goods. We are happy with the reforms that is taking place. We are happy with the fact that there is efforts to facilitate speedy clearance of goods and make the port more efficient. We are happy with all that. The benchmark values, for us, as far as we are concerned, if people are really declaring the right values, it has no effect. So, really, it doesn't really add much.
Okay, I'm grateful that you joined us. Seth Chum Akwabwa is the Chief Executive Officer of the Association of Ghana Industries. George.
Interesting development, and we're all trying our best. Even for the economists who were at the event today, they're struggling to understand.
I mean, definitely must understand.
It looks like for us, we also knew this discussion has been on the table for quite a long time. Yeah. Even when the president announced that he's talked about, and these things have been on the table for quite a long time. So he knows what he's talking about. Maybe he was even part of those initial committees.
But he's not even excited about this. He says it's premature to be excited and jubilate.
Well, maybe because of what he's been seeing.
You won't see any reduction.
You won't see. Then it means that people are also not declaring the right values of these goods when they bring it at the port. And there is a concern again when you engage others in the region that it's expensive to use our ports. So now people will not be forced to actually declare the actual values with respect to what they bring in. The Vice President has been giving us some reasons as to what led to the sharp depreciation of the Ghana cedi and the fact that the Bank of Ghana couldn't step in to help stabilize things for us. The Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has also revised the cost in cleaning up the non-bank financial sectors that include savings and loans and the microfinance sectors. The business news on NEWSNITE is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all your office essentials. And First National Bank, we are the bank that understands your business. First National Bank, how can we help you?
It's your day off and you end up looking after the baby while your wife goes off to work. You realize you have no idea how to change a diaper. So you video call your wife.
Hello, darling.
Yeah, hello. Hello.
Kojo, is everything all right?
Everything is not all right. I'm not seeing Topo. How do I change a baby's diaper, please?
Kojo. Okay, first, put the diaper.
The video call freezes. While you wait for the internet to catch up, the baby sprouts a fountain and wets the diaper. As you are getting a new one, your wife comes back online.
Kojo, no. Why did you leave Abeko alone on the bed?
But I had to go and get a new diaper. What must I do next? I beg, quick.
Open the front of the diaper. It's the side that has...
Wow, look, the video freezes again. Abba. By now, you know where the conversation is going. There's no buffering in real life, so why accept it from your internet connection? Get connected and experience ultra-fast internet to your home, powered by MTN Fiber Broadband. We're there for you, everywhere you go.
Let us help you bank with the right bank. At First National Bank, we're more than just a bank. We're a digital partner that actually understands your business. Enjoy massive value with our various banking solutions. Get a business check account, a day-to-day transactional account for all businesses from all sectors of the economy. Access our online banking enterprise and bank your way 24/7. Invest with our short or long-term options that enable immediate access to funds. Optimize your cash flow, raise capital, and acquire assets with ease with our lending solutions. Trade with speed, consistency, and innovation with our global payments and forex solutions. With so much value up for grabs, there is no reason not to bank with First National Bank. First National Bank. How can we help you?
but the best, we stay above the rest. More quality, more affordability. Kingdom Books and Stationery. Everybody's going to the one and only shop where customer satisfaction is a guarantee. Kingdom Books and Stationery.
Oh yes, with our 30 days credit facility with no interest charge, free delivery services, and our free consultation on setting up your office, Kingdom Books and Stationery is unmatched in our delivery of quality and affordable office essentials, equipment, and furniture.
Experience world-class customer service in all our branches in Accra, Tema, Kumasi, Cape Coast, and Takoradi.
Call us on 0302-764-101
or visit our website at www.kingdomgh.com.
Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one-stop shop for all office essentials and stationery. Terms and conditions apply.
This here is for the creative ones, the cool cats, the mavericks, the ones whose parents still don't know what they do, the ones who rock large froze and vintage clothes, those who describe everything they like as deep and create the beauty that takes our breath away. You should never stop creating to do your banking. That's why Standard Chartered brings you SC Mobile, a digital banking app that allows you to pay for that camera, get a statement for your Visa, set up your debit card, and so much more whilst in the studio. Simply download the SC Mobile app from the App or Play Store. Load money into your account and you're good to go. Just dial 3311 across all networks for free and be unstoppable. Standard Chartered, here for good. Terms and conditions apply.
Honey, I need to get some.
But I don't have cash on me. Let me get some fuel quickly and let's go.
And how are you going to get the fuel? I thought you said you didn't have cash on you. What is this one?
My Puma card.
All it takes is a card. The Puma card allows you to buy fuel cash-free from all Puma energy filling stations. You can use your Puma card with any Visa points of sale and ATM across the country. The Puma card also works on mobile money. You get amazing discounts when you fill up with your Puma card. So register for free and get your Puma card instantly at any Puma filling station.
And you only got one for yourself, eh?
Yeah, would I have had that piece of mind?
Oh, thank you, honey.
And where are you going?
I'm getting something from the shop real quick. I need to test the card.
Puma card. Cash-free convenience. Joy 99.7 FM.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. And Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has attributed the city's sharp depreciation in the previous month to an IMF conditionality which made it difficult for the Bank of Ghana to intervene. The Vice President disclosed this during his town hall meeting in Accra today. There is more, the following report on these issues as well as other things that he spoke about during the meeting.
According to the Vice President, the conditionalities by the IMF forced the Bank of Ghana to build their reserves, which made it difficult to intervene.
One of the conditions that the Bank of Ghana had to meet was to increase its net international reserves to the level of December 2018. To increase the net international reserves, however, meant that the Bank of Ghana could not sell any foreign exchange in the market. They had to essentially hold their hands to the back and could not intervene on the market during this particular period. So demand for foreign currency was not met by supply as normally happens on a day-to-day basis. And we know when the demand is greater than the supply or the supply is not coming, the price will go up. And this is exactly what was happening.
He also added that their fiscal measures have rather helped to slow the rate of debt stock growth. The Vice President also noted the current state of economy had been influenced by recent policy measures by government. Dr. Bawumia also announced some cut in port charges would go a long way to reduce the cost of doing business in the country.
These decisions with the objective of increasing trade facilitation and efficiency and revenue. Port revenue depends on volume. Port revenue depends on volume. So if you don't have the trade facilitation, you will not have the volume. And if you don't have the volume, you will not have the revenue. And this is that is what the thinking that is informing these decisions. So we are looking at increasing revenue. But to do so, we cannot be uncompetitive.
Dr. Bawumia also announced that from July, they will be using domestic gas to power most of the country's generating plants. a development that would reduce the cost of generation.
The completion of this work should be done between July and August. That's the phase 2 of it, after which, fingers crossed and God willing, we should not import any gas anymore. We'll use all domestic gas. So by July, August, we will be using domestic gas, if all this thing, and which will really bring down cost of gas in this country. And of course, Car Power is also moving to the west to be the off-taker for this gas.
And that was a Business Desk report. Now, one of the highlights of this presentation is the proposed reduction in port charges. Let's bring you the views of the Ghana Union of Trade Association, and Dr. Joseph Obeng is its president.
For the benchmark values to have been halved is very significant. And if you import car and then the value instead of the 50% has come to 30%, that one is also very significant for our brothers abroad who have been sending these cars. We are very excited about this. We are waiting for the proper modalities to be set so that we start working. The message is so clear. They say the benchmark values are already there, and what they are saying is that they should be halved. So this is not a matter of even negotiation. It's a matter of calculation.
Dr. Joseph Obeng is the president of the Ghana Union of Traders Association. Now let's bring you the views of an economist, Professor Peter Kote, who is arguing that there's a need for more data before they can do some proper analysis on these port charges.
But I was thinking that behind this, there should have been some benefit analysis, some analysis of how much revenue we are likely to gain, how many containers we are likely to get in, instead of the 4 point something per annum, maybe 100% increase in the volume. Then, you do this back of the envelope calculations and tell whether the reduction in the value might not lead to a reduction in revenue generated. I don't know. That information was not given to us, so I might not be able to speak strongly to it. But it's a concern to me that...
Again, one would ask that where lies, and let me use the word priority as a country, whether we want to boost imports, whether raw materials or boost imports of finished product, i.e. promoting export.
Yes, we promote export, but you recall, or you can tell that most of our production base or our industry rely on imported raw materials to produce. So if you want to promote export, certainly you also have to look at the duty on imports. And also it also ties in with people's livelihood. We don't produce enough, and most of the things we consume are imported. So in as much as we try to grow the local economy, you also have to make sure imported items are not over-taxed. Then gradually, as you grow your production base, you can then slap more taxes on imported products.
But I'm saying that we've identified the port as an area that is struggling with revenue in some areas. Do you think that the timing of this initiative itself could have waited a little bit while?
No, I think the thinking is that the volume, we are not getting enough volume. And even if you speak to people who work at the port, we are looking to a neighboring country. So how do we get the volumes back? If you speak to customs officers, GRA officers, they will tell you the volumes have gone down considerably. So we need to bring back the volumes, and then as we bring back the volume, obviously revenue will show up.
There's an indication of doing more in terms of... And that was Professor Peter Kote sharing his views on those proposed cuts in port charges. Now, let's still stay on this development because the Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, has been giving some fine details on how the cleanup of the savings and loan sectors, as well as microfinance, would cost the state.
With regards to the banking issue, yes, we do intend to tackle the microfinance one. I think the estimate is around 953 of 53 odd million CDs that we actually have put in an escrow account to be able to tackle that. And then there's the SDIs, which is the savings and loans institutions, etc. And approximate is about 3 billion that it will cost us.
Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta. Now, the Bank of Ghana and the securities agencies would soon be moving out to enforce some of the forex exchange rules in the country. Now, Senior Minister Yaw Safo-Mafo also announced this during the Economic Management Team Town Hall meeting in Accra today. To the stock market, GCB actually lost 7 pesos to close at 3 Ghana cedis, 93 pesos. Enterprise Group was also down by 3 pesos. So, if you hold a share of this company, it's now worth 2 Ghana cedis, 22 pesos. Interesting developments there. But even Guta, when you listen to Guta, they also were clear in their submission that it is the benchmark value. So we need some clarity. And just like what Peter Koto was saying, that even he was there as well. He wants some clarity on this proposal to really do some analysis.
Meanwhile, this starts tomorrow.
Yeah, but that's
morning.
The question is, what is benchmark values with respect to port charges?
I mean, at least we've had the AGI saying that don't expect any reduction, significant
if there's
reduction.
dispute about your charges.
Unless there's a dispute.
Yeah.
George, thank you very much.
Hello. I say, I want to know Vodafone normal 10 megabyte free data. It will call Smart Rubiadron. Share.
Hello, have you heard that Vodafone is giving 10 megabyte free data for every minute you talk? You just dial 50-50.
Yeah, hello? Aha! Right now, we the Vodafone people just they can call plenty. Sake of us, you talk 1 minute, you go get 10 megabytes. You talk 2 minutes, you go get 20 megabytes. 3 minutes.
Call Vodafone or any network and get 10 megabytes of free data every minute you talk. It's simple. Talk to browse. The more you talk, the more data you get. Dial 50-50 to subscribe. Talk more, browse more. Terms and conditions apply.
The future is exciting. Ready? Thank you, folks. On my A list today, show some love for Contractor EB. So, Contractor, what do you think about the country's changing skyline?
Oh, send them down there, Shurima. Across skyline, they change you, papa.
Wow. Contractor, don't you get worried when you hear of buildings collapsing?
I'm out for an one on Tassam. It is the likability of using low quality product.
Please explain why.
Yeah, cement is no quality on your gasem. Village of Fefu. It was built with gasem. Says the gasem all construction. See hot pumping. N1, can you tell market? Go to Kano Kumasi Airport. Cape Coast Stadium. A trouble gas project in Gasebo. Messi, what the quality? You know what is the quality?
Gasem, 3 cement grades, greater value. Gasem, the nation builder.
We interrupt this program to bring you breaking news. No expiry demonstrations have broken out all across the country. Ghanaians are demanding the right to use their data for as long as they want.
No expiry.
In an effort to appease the situation, Airtel Tigo has scrapped data expiry. Our reporter Abna is on the ground.
What do you think about Airtel Tigo's new data bundle?
What is mine should be mine for as long as I want.
What about you, sir?
Oh, now with big time data bundles, we can browse, sir.
Airtel Tigo says, haha, their data doesn't expire. Dial *111# today and get big time data so you can browse only on Airtel Tigo.
Let's do some sports now. Hans Bensando. Hello, Hans.
Hello, Evans. And Manchester United won last night. Did you?
Why are you misinforming the public?
Okay.
They lost 2-1.
Right.
Yes.
I wanted you to inform the public.
Mischievous.
Were eaten by the Wolves last night.
Yeah, twice in a row.
It appears you may be going back to sit position.
No problem. It's okay. I mean, the season is
We're playing Europa League football. I'm looking
forward to. No. Well. I mean, we're winning the Champions League, and so we're back into the team in the world. What's in sport?
Right. So it's the third day of the Table Tennis World Junior and Cadet Championship, currently ongoing here in Accra, and Ghana has won 2 medals so far in the competition. Team Ghana performed better today than the previous 2 days with some key victories. We can hear more from Nathaniel Somoa.
Today's results have been quite good for Ghana. Bodina City of Ghana beat Mustafa Musa of Nigeria 3-0. Gado Ibrahim of Ghana beat Ali Al-Saha of Saudi Arabia 3-1. Emeka Juana of Ghana beat Kayode of Congo Democratic Republic 3-1. Some of our players also did well, but they couldn't win. Osei Desmond of Ghana lost Nikala Mainak of India by 2 games to 3. Overall, today's performances have been quite good if you compare them to that of yesterday and the third day. Their confidence level is increasing, and also they are getting used to playing international players. So far, we have won 2 medals. In the girls category, we won bronze, and also in the consolation category, Ghana won gold.
So that's Nathaniel Zuma with update from the table tennis championship currently ongoing here in Accra, and down. An upset in the normalization special competition as Hearts of Folk were beaten by Elmina Sharks by a goal to 0, and Bechem United and Ashanti Gold playing a goalless draw. Also, Diana Stars beating 11 Wonders by 2 goals to 1. Dreams FC 1, Kerala United 1. Liberty Professionals thrashing Ewusia Dwarfs by 4 goals to 0, and Wafa playing a 1-1 draw against Inter Allies. That's your sports.
Thank you, Hans. Now, the Ewutu Senior West Assembly says they are working round the clock to fix access to water in over 150 communities. Now, 3 months after Joy News highlighted the plight of residents of Kwaman number 1 and 2, people there are still drinking water from the untreated pond. Now, the reason is a complex one. Those connected to pipelines running through the community sell the water at high cost. The poor, who cannot tap into the pipelines, rely on untreated water sources to survive. Kwetenate went to the community and filed this report.
Kwaman number 1 and 2 are communities just 30 minutes drive from the Kaswa Highway in the central region. Both communities can boast of basic amenities such as schools, electricity and roads. But water is a major challenge. This is a poor community with many brick and mud houses. Last year, Joy News was here and saw at first hand the challenge with many residents drinking from a dirty, muddy pond. Commitments were made by the district assembly to fix it. Months on, we are back and the problem persists despite the existence of Ghana Water Company pipes running through the community. The inequality is wide and glaring. There are those who can afford and have connected to the main pipelines, and then those without connections to their homes but can afford to buy from neighbors. But the majority cannot afford at all and are compelled to rely on this pond in Kwaman number 1 that we discovered last year when we visited. 50-year-old Abba Bompetiba depends on this pond because she cannot afford the 50 pesos charged by water operators.
Access to potable water in this community is a challenge. We fetch the water from a pond in Kwamai number 1. We only use it to bath. We are unable to drink it. We however drink from another pond, but it's quite a distance from here. The water we purchase from private operators is very expensive.
The pond is filled with frogs and algae. It looks greenish on the surface, but after scooping the water, it reveals a dirty brownish color and surrounded by overgrown weeds. Many residents of Kwamang number 1 also depend on this pond. Government has provided 2 community pipes, but it has been shut down by the Ghana Water Company because of accumulated debt. Residents there say they are too poor to pay and the pipes remain closed. A private water operator also could not sustain his business because he has been owing for the past 4 months. Retired Chief Inspector Samson Kwesi Brown says since the tap was disconnected, it has taken a toll on his family. They now have to rely on the pond and also buy sachet water for drinking.
Almost 4 months now.
So where do you even get water from?
You just go around that borehole water, that one we use. Apart from that, we don't have any government pipe.
But even the borehole water, it doesn't seem clean. So which one do you drink?
Okay, we use the pure water.
Pipelines run through both communities, but it's only few people who are able to connect. And those few are the likes of Zainabu Mustafa. Many are poor in these communities. They walk long distances to fetch from dirty ponds. The only remedy is to boil this water for drinking. But not many people do that.
Okay, my friend say, Obiaje pipe wa, so yen sawa, ye kotunsuwa, bucket 50 pesos, pine 1 CD.
Nada na nipa na waje pipe with your home bunsio.
Okay, ono sono on say obi na obi fie.
I don't have a pipe in my home. A neighbor, however, has connected to a pipeline, but he has not given anyone the permission to fetch from it. A bucket is 50 pesos, and the basin goes for 1 Ghana cedis. I usually fetch from the only polytank here. This dirty water was fetched from the pond in Kwamai number 1.
District Chief Executive for Ewutu Senior Stephen Kwe says this reality is a big problem.
It's really bad because they all fetch from the water that you showed. That is the stream. And then, the top of the stream, there are some things that flows into the water, and they also fetch it at the downstream. So it was really, really bad. Indeed, seriously, it was really, really bad.
He's appealing to civil society groups to come to their aid. Kwete Nate's report for Joy News.
The DC for the area, Stephen Quake says, access to water is still a challenge they are working to address.
Oh, I told you that all along. I thought there was a pipe stand by the roadside. That is the private one. Not knowing we had public one, which they couldn't manage, and then they ran into debt, and therefore we have to do something about it. So I went there, and besides your publication, I also took that opportunity to go to other communities to ascertain things myself. And indeed, the same story. So I'm working around to ensure that all of them get potable water. This borehole issue. There are areas where you can put boreholes. I think I have about 157,000 villages, and only about 10% have access to potable water. Thank God, we are getting a lot of boreholes to the remote areas. My district, for instance, we have saline area and areas that are not non-saline.
And that's the DCE for the area, Stephen Quay, talking about the challenge with water in that part of the country. And let's bring in Inimwa Animado, who's coming over after me with... And what are you talking about tonight?
We're talking about the pressure to get married after a certain age. The pressure, the unnecessary questions, and the subtle, passive-aggressive suggestions about finding a husband and settling down and having children and all of that.
That is an exciting conversation.
It is, indeed.
I want to listen to it. And I've seen the ladies you're having.
Oh, yes. I have my usual suspects.
I always say the best way to listen to your show is Facebook
Live. Yes, we're quite a rowdy bunch, aren't we? But yeah, tune in, stay tuned. We're coming up right after this.